disqualify yourself before you are even disqualified. I want you to stop that. By the time you take simulations like this, you begin to understand project management in depth. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those that are new here, I'm Oluwatosin Miriam, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for stopping by again. So for those of you that are new here, I've said my name here. I'm an IT and digital project manager, and the last time I made a video on project management talking about how I transitioned into project management and how anyone out there can also do it. So today we are taking it a step further, and we are going to be talking about top 5 ways to build experience for a project management role without a project management job. I don't know if that makes sense. So typically, I'm going to be talking to beginners that are new into project management, that want to transition into project management, that are new into project management, and who have never worked as a project manager before. And everyone wants to build their CV for a project management role. So now imagine you work as a fashion assistant, you work as a virtual assistant, you work as an administrative assistant in the past, and now you want to build your CV. So that is what we are going to be discussing today. I'm going to be sharing with you guys some things you can do to build your CV, to set yourself up and make yourself ready for a project management role. I have my notepad here with me because I took some notes down so I don't forget everything I want to discuss in this video. So let's get right into it. So the first one I'm going to discuss is volunteer to manage projects. This could be at your current job or outside of your current work. Just volunteer to manage projects. And this kind of project doesn't necessarily have to be like, say, for instance, IT project or so on, because there are a lot of projects out there. Like I said in my last video, you have to niche down, you have to know the kind of projects you want to manage. But if you're building a CV for a project management role, I think any project is actually fine for you to manage in this instance. So for me, I manage both IT and digital projects. That's like media related projects, because I'm a social media content creator and so on. So I'm well acquainted with the media space. That is why I can manage media projects. And then by background, by work experience, I'm an IT project manager. Do you get? So for instance, you're starting out as a project manager, you see a volunteer option to manage an event or to plan an event in your company, grab it. That is also project management. Or you see an option of, okay, maybe onboarding a staff. It depends on the organizations. Different processes are involved in onboarding a staff. You move from department A will clear you, department B will do this, department C will do that. These are projects because there are stages to these things, and then it has a start date and it has an end date. So these are all projects. So, planning an event, organizing a task, and so on, they are all projects. So if you see this kind of things in maybe your current role, maybe you are working, for instance, the department you are working at, your current role, you guys want to plan an end of the year hangout or something like that, you can volunteer to do that. And make sure that for everything you do, you document your experience. Always document your experience. I always tell people this because a lot of us tend to forget everything we do after a while. And then when we don't document it, we start to, ramble our brain and so on, trying to remember the things we did. So on the spot, today you spoke with some stakeholders, we were able to get the vendors to coordinate things and do all of that, document it. Today, in the projects you are doing by onboarding new staff, you're able to get them through maybe the legal department by doing this, that, by doing XYZ, document it. So that's one way you can also get experience for your project management role. And like I said, this doesn't necessarily have to be your current work alone. Say, for instance, your church, your organization, or you belong to a non-governmental organization and they are planning an event, or your church is planning an event or something similar. You can volunteer. You don't necessarily have to be the lead. You can even be the support. You can be a member of the planning committee. But for everything you do, make sure you document it. And you have to be very strategic with your documentation so that it will make sense to anyone, going through your CV. You don't just say, I organized an outreach for my church and then we went to the village. We were able to give things out. We were able to do this. No, you have to document it in a way that actually makes sense. So, for instance, you organize an outreach in your church, you guys went to the village, you guys shared medical supplies with people in the village, you shared food and so on. So you can put it this way and say you led the coordination of an outreach in your organization. You put the name of the organization, so you do not have to repeat the organization in your experience anymore. So you can say you led the coordination of an outreach to X amount of people. Another thing I notice when it comes to CV is that people like to see figures. So say you led the coordination of an outreach or organization of an outreach to X amount of people and you shared so and so things with them. Just put it in a way that would make it look good for your CV, not just write it plain out there. So I think that brings me to my second point, which is take on coordination roles at your current job or whatever you belong to. So the reason why I'm saying this still relates to the first point, but the reason why I'm saying this is because when you are volunteering for all of these roles, then you become known as the go-to person. People will see you as the go-to person. So let people see you as the go-to person for, we want to plan an event in our organization, we want to plan an event in our department, we want to plan an event in church. This person can really help us. She has done it before and she did excellently well. She delivered, she did this, she did that. So be that person. For instance, in the organization I work, project managers are always the go-to person when it comes to planning an event in the department and so on, because we do it and we do it excellently well, like without stress. Though people can be stressful, but it is something we do. So we take it on and then we deliver excellently well because that is what we do. So be that person. Before I became a project manager, these are things I do like excellently well. There was a time I organized a birthday shoot for my sister, from the makeup to the photography to the outfits. I got everything sorted. All she just had to do was send me the money. I booked the time with the makeup artist. I booked the time with the photographer, the Uber, and everything. That's project management, guys. So a lot of us in our everyday lives, we manage projects, but we feel like, we have to get a role that carries project management in quotes before we can call ourselves project managers, or before we can even put ourselves up for project management roles. I don't know if that makes sense. So a lot of these things, you have to document them. I know that a lot of projects we manage in our everyday lives cannot be compared to actually managing a corporate project and, business project and so on. But I can tell you for a fact that these skills are transferable. So once you have these skills and once you've done one or two things in the past, you can transfer it to a corporate project management role. You can transfer it to a business project management role. You can transfer it to a media project management role and so on. I remember when I first resumed my job, one thing my boss asked me was, have you planned a party before? Have you planned an hangout before? And I told him, he said, okay, let me know the rundown of everything you did, from, speaking with people to getting the venue to organizing maybe a vehicle or a bus to convey you guys to the venue and so on. And I did. And he said, that is project management. But, the difference is just that this time around, you're actually maybe getting paid for it and you're expected to do a proper reporting and so on. The difference is just that everything is organized. That is the difference between the everyday projects we manage and then the corporate projects people manage. So That's it for my second point. So my third point will be complete real life project simulations and then courses. I spoke about this in my last video. There are a lot of project simulations online that are like virtual internships. Say for instance, you go on Forage. I'm a preacher of Forage because Forage really, really helped me. So I would I would always preach Forage to people. You go on Forage, you see project management simulations and so on. You go on Coursera, you see similar things and so on. You just take them, you get your certificate. And what I tell people is don't do these things to get your certificate. Do these things to actually put your mind to it. Like I said earlier, the difference between the everyday projects we manage and corporate projects we manage is the fact that these things, they are organized. So we have different project terminologies we use. You will know your project team. You will know the people that are involved in the initiation phase, the execution phase, and so on. That's the difference between the everyday project and the corporate project. So by the time you take simulations like this, you begin to learn project terminologies. You begin to learn project phases and what is involved in each and every phases, what is expected of you as a project manager at every phase of the project, and so on, how to handle stakeholders, how to handle customers, and so on. That's the difference between these things. So by the time you take on volunteer roles, you might not necessarily learn a lot of these things because you are volunteering. You are just doing these things because, oh, you can do it. But by the time you take simulations like this, you begin to understand project management in depth. And this will also help you to couch your experience on your CV in a way that makes sense, in a way that makes you look like, oh, you actually know what you're doing. Oh, you've had project management experience. Do you get? So you couch your CV in a way that, oh, you communicate with stakeholders, you communicate with customers, you lead project team, you did this, you did that. But by the time you just volunteer and so on, and you don't actually take job simulations like this, you don't take on courses, you might not understand some project management terminologies, you might not understand some in-depth things about project management. And by the time you put your CV together, it might not look so good for someone who's actually trying to position themselves for a project management role. And by the time you even say, okay, for instance, your CV even passed the stage of, okay, you've passed this stage, let's call you up for an interview. By the time you go for the interview and they are asking you, oh, how do you manage a stakeholder with high interest and high power, or high interest, low power, or, low interest, high power, and so on. And you begin to think, oh, you've never even done something like this before. You've not heard of something like this before. But I can tell you for a fact that you might have done something like this before in your volunteering role. You might have heard of something like this before in your volunteering role. But because you are not used to the project management terminologies, you are not used to a lot of things about project management, you start thinking this is not something you've come across before in any of the projects you've actually planned. And that's actually not true. When they say, oh, a stakeholder has high interest, low power, it could be that the stakeholder is actually interested in the project, like pretty much every move of the project, every progress, every setback, every issues, every risk, and so on. But the power of the stakeholder in the project is actually low. Maybe because he contributed the lowest amounts into this project, or he has the lowest shares in the project, or something like that. So that's actually what it means in most cases. But because you are not used to the terminologies, you might not get it, which is why I always advise people, take courses, take simulations, and don't just take it for taking sake. Put your heart into it. Put your heart in it. Don't just have the certificates to show that, oh, I've taken courses. Let your heart be in it. So that's it for the third point. The fourth point will be build your own practice project using some PM tools. So, for instance, in cases where you've volunteered, you've taken up some projects with maybe some NGOs, your place of work, and so on. There are a lot of project management tools. So just pick out one or two of these tools. But as a beginner, I would advise you pick out one tool. So this tool will help you stay organized. It will help you put all your thoughts in one place. Because if you just have everything in your head, you will miss out on some important things. Say, for instance, if, my sister's birthday shoot that I said I managed, I had to write a lot of things down. Oh, she will need a makeup artist. She will need a hairstylist. She will need a photographer. we would have to transport ourselves from point A to point B, and in the process she will get hungry, she will need food. So I'm writing down everything. I'm writing down the list of makeup artists I'm going to reach out to and table their amounts and everything so she can choose from. I'm writing out the list of photographers I'm going to reach out to and so on. So the thing is, beyond just writing down, there are a lot of tools that helps you do this, and they are so extensive. There's a way you can put things in your calendar. There's a way you can put risk and issues of some things. Okay, if this issue arises, what can you do to mitigate the issue? Or let me think of the risk. Okay, for instance, what if you actually book a makeup artist and the makeup artist does not show up that day? Maybe the makeup artist is ill or just decided to disappoint us. What's going to be our next line of action? Let me look for another makeup artist that might be free for that day, but we'll just tell her, oh, we'll get back to her or something like that. There are a lot of tools that helps you organize your thoughts, and not just your thoughts. They help you think about the future, just like I've said now, what happens in the case of an issue, what happens if there's a risk, and so on. So you need to learn how to use one of these tools, because you're actually going to use one or two of these tools when you get a project management job. And people want to see that, okay, beyond managing a project, you actually know how to use a project management tool. So one tool I would advise for beginners would be Notion. Notion is pretty straightforward, and you can find a lot of templates on Notion, a lot of project management templates on Notion that you can even customize to your own taste. So I recently learned how to use Notion because we did not use Notion in the organization I work. But I can tell you that initially it can look stressful. Like initially it felt like I was coding, because I have to be putting slash in front of everything I'm writing, just like is it Python or HTML? I can't remember. But it's actually pretty easy. I found a lot of videos on YouTube that helped me understand it, and I was able to build my own template for both my IT project management and my digital project management. And I was even able to build another template for my everyday life, outside of work, the things I want to achieve personally, the things I want to do personally, my own personal calendar as well. So for instance, you have personal projects you are working on. Say for instance, you're a fashion designer, a client reaches out to you, they want to make a dress, they are going to send the fabric on so dates. They need the dress to be ready on another date. So you get the dress. For instance, so as a fashion designer, in that case, you can open up Notion, set up a calendar and so on. Okay, this is for XYZ clients. She's bringing her fabric on so date. You put it there in your calendar. You are expected to be done with the first layer of the outfit or something like that by so date. You put it there in your calendar. XYZ client is expected to come in on so date for the first fitting. You put it on your calendar. XYZ's client is supposed to pay a particular amount at this date, a particular deposit or something. You put it in your calendar. XYZ client is supposed to come for second fitting on this day. You put it in your calendar. And maybe concerning XYZ client's clothes, you have a to-do that, okay, on Monday you want to be done with the bidding. On Tuesday, you want to be done with the layering. I really don't know much about fashion designing, so I'm just using these examples. On Wednesday, you want to be done with the coloring and so on. You can add all of these things in a Notion dashboard for a particular client. And if you don't want to do just one client, you can add different clients all together in a Notion dashboard. That's just an example of what you can do with Notion. So you can even start by using it for your own everyday, day-to-day activities and so on. And then as time goes on and you get a volunteering role and so on, you can start by using it for your own volunteering roles as well. Say for instance, you're taking a job simulation and there are three parts to the job simulation, and you're expected to complete an assignment, the thesis and so on. You can use Notion to actually you have to actually stay organized on completing the job simulation. Say day one, you are taking part one of the first task, you are doing an assignment on this. Day two, you are doing this, you are doing that. You're putting everything down on the Notion board for this particular job simulation. Another tool you can also use is Jira, Trello, Asana. There are a lot of them and so on. And there's one thing I tell people. A lot of beginners, when they see project management rules, they see requirements like must know how to use Jira, Trello, and so on. They list like three to 4 project management tools for them to know how to use. And some people come to me, they are like, oh, they only know how to use 1 or 2 of these tools, so they don't feel qualified enough to apply. I want you guys to stop that. I want you to stop that. Don't put yourself down before people already put you down. Don't disqualify yourself before you are even disqualified. I did not know how to use any tool before I got a project management role. And today I'm conversant with about 2 or 3 of them. I'm still not conversant with everything. It still doesn't mean that if I see a job that says I have to be conversant with 5 tools and I'm only conversant with 3, I will not apply. That's not possible. I'm not going to disqualify myself before I even get disqualified. So still apply, and then you can always learn on the job. Eventually you get the job, you can always learn on the job. And a lot of organizations, they don't use beyond 1 or 2 tools. But people just want people to be knowledgeable with all these tools, conversant with all these tools. I honestly do not know why. I feel like in most cases, people should just put out the only tool they use in the organization. But I don't know why people put out 3 or 4 tools. But anyways, apply still. Now, to my final point. My final point will be join a PM community and be active, contribute, and so on. I feel like this is one thing I wish I got when I started in this career space, which is why, because I did not get that, and I know how important it can be for beginners starting out as a PM, which was why I started a PM community called Project Pioneers Hub. We have a LinkedIn page, but we are mostly based on, WhatsApp. It's over, I think, 200 people and so on. We send job opportunities there. We send courses to take. People ask questions, we answer. And one thing I like about the group is that it is open for all. It is a group that is engaging. So I always encourage people on the group to contribute. People have gotten internships. They've helped themselves get internship and job opportunities and so on. So communities like that you can join. I feel like there are some of them too that are on Telegram and so on. You can join communities like that, and don't just join to be silent. Join to be active as well. When you see opportunities, when you see resources, you can also share with your community members. It also helps people, network and then encourage each other, because by the time you see that, people are sending things on the community, say for instance an internship role, and other people are getting it, you people can form a network. You can always, just encourage each other, network, and so on. So we've gotten to the end of the video. I hope everything I said makes sense. Also, I'm working on an ebook for, project management for beginners and so on. That will be up for sale very soon. And once it's ready and up for sale, I'll put the link in the description box of this video. And you can also send me a mail. You can send me a DM on any of my social media in case you want to pre-order or something like that. I would respond to you. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Thank you for watching this video to the end. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And take care. Bye.